And in Primerica, at $300,000, you can own your business. You can will it to your children. So when Bob Safford dies, the $3 or $4 million a year that he was making, did that just disappear? It goes to Bob Jr. Whoever he willed his organization to, all that money coming from that hierarchy goes to his kids. And then when Bob Jr. dies, where does it go? To his kids, and then to his kids. Or I can sell it back to Primerica for estimated 10 times its net worth. So I made $150,000 last year, so I can sell it for $1.5 million tomorrow. Who would buy it? Dave. Like, in a heartbeat. Dave, like. Would he like to get closer to Whitney?
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Dave would come down, and would he want me to sell it to Mark? Dave, would he want that sold out of his hierarchy? No. So is that a pretty good sale? I've got to think a lot about that, right? That's kind of like, Dave, you want it? Hell yeah! It's me at the diner again, right? It's going to do it. So that's a marketable product, right?
Yeah.
So I can sell it for 10 times its net worth. I can leave it to my children, or I can retire on the residual income. Guess how many personal policies Brady's sold in the last 12 months?
1.
No, 0. He didn't. So, Bass Lake, Oklahoma. He's at $136,000 in income. He's made $70,000 in the last 6 months. Nothing sold, 0, because he overrides Whitney, and he has massive securities, and that. So he retired on his what? Residuals. He retired on his business at age, I think, 32 or 33. He's completely done for the rest of his life. He goes out and goofs off. Can he come back to Primerica if he wants? Anytime he wants. So I talked to Chris Koob one time, and Chris Koob said, the best thing about Primerica is sometimes I want to be business guy. So I dress in a $5,000 suit, and I go to my base shop, and everybody knows my name, and I'm business guy. He's like, but sometimes business guy gets boring, Bill. And I said, really? He says, yeah. So then I like Bermuda shorts and beaches. So then I just go to the beach for a year or two, but that gets boring. And then you get too many sunburns, and you're like, I'd really like to be business guy, not beach guy. And then he says, I fly into town, and people are happy I flew into town. And it's like, whoa, he's back, right? Chris Koob is back. And he's like, and I put on my suit, and I'm business guy. Where does that happen? What world is that in? That's no world, right? But I'm sure you'd be at Walmart tomorrow on time, right? But you ain't going to go to convention. You make sure Taco Bell's working tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And we make fun. People will say, you don't know about me. I'll say, hey, man, I made $130,000 a year. What do you make? I push $790,000 a month in cold call product. When they shut down University Boulevard for my semis, they charged me $3,000 a minute. My trucks were late because the university's closed. Tell me about your job. What do you make? What's your responsibilities? Where are you at? I left mine. You leave yours, right? That's where I'm at. You can make Primerica a part of your life, or you can make Primerica your life. Right or wrong? You go do something great. And that's why I came in. I watched him decimate my father, and I tell him that when I talk in front of 58,000 people someday, I'm going to say that they ruined my dad, but they forgot about one thing. They forgot about me. Right? They forgot how angry it made me, and how I watched him hurt him. And now I'm like this payback. I'm coming back. Right? And I got plans for banks. I ain't come for the money. I got plans for them when I make money. I got plans, and I just haven't made the money to implement them yet. But I'm not happy with them. So, okay. So that is that. So I'll just cover a couple more things, and then we can go home and eat buffalo wings. So, all right. Now, I just wanted to cover one last thing rather than just boring you all with my story. I wanted to cover some Primerica for you, okay? Some PFS. And there's some things in Primerica, okay? And if I go 10 minutes late, is it okay?
You got till 8:30. So
okay. It's got till 8:30. I was thinking 8. All right. So here's Primerica for you guys, just for some notes, because I don't want to do the whole thing on that. But okay, the first thing in Primerica. Well, I see that you guys are already probably not those type of notes, but the first thing about write down this, but it'll be in story form, baby. So here you go. The first thing in Primerica is how you look at Primerica. Okay. Mentally. I can tell you, if you get 10 a day, you'll get 1 recruit. So if you get 10 commits today, you'll get 1 recruit, right? So I had a good friend of mine tell me one time, if you know 10 a day gets you 1 recruit, how many gets you 2 recruits? 20 commits a day gets you 2 recruits in a month. How many commits a day gets you 3 recruits? 30 a day, right? And he's like, so here's the deal, you just don't love your family. And I said, no, I love my family. No, you don't. Yeah, I do. Well, how would you get 5 recruits a month? You get 50 commits. Do you know how to get a commit? Yeah, I know how to get a commit. Are you getting them? No. So you don't want your kids to go to private school. Right? Who could get 50 commits a day? All of you could get 50. If they had your kid down with a gun in the back of his head and they said get 50 commits in the next month or we're putting him out, would you get 50 commits? Yeah. Anybody can get 50 commits, right? Who's choosing not to get 50 commits? That's because of how you look at Primerica. You don't believe that it'll ever pay you $20,000. If you believe that it would pay you $20,000 a month for the rest of your life without working, would you get 50 commits? What's a commit? Hey, do you enjoy where you're working? No, I hate it. Great. Would you like to do something different? Yes. Okay, give me your phone number. Hey, I talked to you yesterday. Would you like to come down to my op meeting? Yes, I would. Great. What is that? That's 1 commit. And you walk out of Starbucks, you go to Safeway. Hey, you like bagging groceries? No, I hate bagging groceries. Would you like to do something different? Yes. Give me your number. I'll give you a call. Okay. You call them that. Hey, talked to you the other day. Right? What's that? 2 commits. If you go, could you get 50 commits? Do you know what 50 commits is? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So that's 2 commits a day, right? Would be 40 commits a month. So if you got a little more than 2 people to say, I'll come down to an op in a month, you would have 50 commits. You would hire 5 people and do $4,000 in premium. For 20, what do people do for $20,000 a month? They walk around naked, right? Scared in the woods. Get sunburned butts. Do they not? I don't even think they make $1 million for that. Do they? Scared and Naked or whatever that show is? Fear it or not? Do they do Fear it or not? Scorpions on your face. The one thing you hate is scorpions, and your mom told them you hate scorpions, so they pour a bunch of scorpions on your face. And you like get 50,000 if you can stand like your biggest fears. You get 50 grand. Do they kill people for $1 million? They kill people for like $10,000. You know that. You go down to a bum in December who's been sleeping on a grate and you say 10 grand if Tom ain't around, that guy will think about it. Will he not? We're talking $1 million. What do people do for $1 million? And I'm telling you, you got to get two and a half commits a day consistently for a month. We'll give you $1 million for the rest of your life without working. No, that's too much. I'm going to go to Survivor because I want to starve on beetles. Right? Do you get where I'm coming from? That's what he's talking about. So like I said, don't quit because I talked to you today, but I'm trying to give you a little different angle on how I've been trained versus other people. And like I haven't been trained that it's okay not to get your 2 commits. I haven't been trained that it's okay to have your wife go to work. I wasn't trained that that's okay. I was trained that you get your stuff done. You know what I mean? But I came from commercial lumber, which is like commercial real estate, and they're just as violent. So when I came here, I'm like, your worst yelling, Dave, is like cupcakes over here. You know what I mean? I'm good with it. And Dave trained me. He took me from a lumber guy to a Primerica guy and took my intensity, and that's how I look at things. So it's all in how you look at it. So I tell people when I was in football, I came out of high school, fair enough, I came out of high school into college football. We played all year. My defense had never been scored on. They call it redshirting if you don't know, where you put on weight, right? So you're 18 years old, you're playing with grown men, they want you to pack on 20, 30 pounds, so when you get hit, you don't die. So I'm redshirted and I'm lifting. So the red shirts play each other every weekend, okay? Meaning we have a scrimmage against the offense and we go up to the stadium and there's referees and the whole deal, but they don't really care about us, we're just meat. It's not a real game, it's just and the offense doesn't score on us all year. Okay, it's the last game of the year, and we're on the 50-yard line, and I'm playing with this guy. His name's Topher Sindroy, and Topher played for Creek, and Topher's name was Topher because his mom used to call him Chrissy, and his name was Christopher. His mom would call him Chrissy, so his dad cut off the Chris, so his name was just Toph. That was it. You're the weirdest family ever, right? So we're sitting there, right, and we're sitting in the huddle, and Topher goes, "Hey, man," he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "We should cheap shot somebody." And I'm like, all right. And I'm getting excited, right? I'm like, this is going to be so much fun. Who am I going to hit? You know? And well, I'm thinking this. And in college, you can't touch the quarterback because he's worth money. So the quarterbacks always, they run out of bounds like this, and they always take the football and throw it in your face mask, right? Well, you're like eating meat defensive tackle, and all you want to do is destroy him, right? And you always get this football, and then he jogs around you and goes back to the huddle. And my scholarship is you get to go to college, right? I'm like, yeah, son of a, right? So I'm thinking this. I'm like, last game of the year, it's the quarterback. I'm hitting that quarterback. I'm going to hit him so hard. I'm going to knock his brains in next week, right? And I'm getting really excited about it. And I think Topher's not going to do it, right? He's going to leave me out to dry. So I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, you're really going to cheap shot somebody, right? Because I am. And he's like, I am. Don't let me down, Toph. Okay, so we go break, and we come out, and we get in our stands, and they go, hut, and we go, and this quarterback, he's like this red-headed kid. I can't remember his name. I'll remember it. But he's running out of bounds, and he turns around, and he hits me with that football. But I'm still going like 9-0. And I think I was benching about 450, weighed 225. I'm going like a truck, right? Boom! I hit him so hard. His body came off the ground, and he went through the Gatorade things and over the bench, and I rolled over his body and out and came up, and I mean, his helmet was off, and I was like, oh, that felt good, man, you know? I'm walking back, and the coaches are like, what are you doing, Austin? And I was just like getting, wah, wah, wah. And I look out, and Topher's got the nose guard, because he was a nose guard, he's a nose guard, so he's got the center's face mask up, and he's just giving it to the center, right? And I'm like, that's awesome! So we got a 60-yard flagrant foul, right? And they came down, they haven't scored on us all year, and they're on the 1-yard line, right? And of course, straight up our hole, the number 2 hole, right? And so, set, hut, in, score, guys like, woo! Topher kicks the center up under the face mask, and then it was on like Donkey Kong. Like I'm just talking like full out fist fight. But we forgot we're the meat squad, right? So nobody cares. So the coach is like, hell, last game of the year, right? They just go sit down, and we literally fight until we're out of air. And it was fun, right? So we're going to the locker room. And me and Topher are just like, man, that was awesome, you know what I mean? All just like walking back with your helmet, you know. You're young, you're 19 years old, you're a college football player, we're laughing about it, you know. And the next day comes up, and the coaches don't yell at us. It's weird. I know you're a coach. Like, these coaches just come in. They're like, all right, tomorrow practice, blah, 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 you know. And we got practice because they still have varsity games, but that was our last game. We're the meat squad. And we're like, okay, putting our stuff up. Next day we come in, and the coach goes, all right, I want the varsity defense on this side, line in single file. I want the meat squad red shirts over here, single file. Bill, you're in the front. I'm like, okay. So I'm standing here, and he's got Stewart, and Stewart's a 2-time All-American middle linebacker in college. And for any of you that know that, he always wears his shirt tucked up underneath his thing, and then you could like clean clothes on his stomach, right? I don't care about the tanness, but totally tan. When he comes out, he looks like a they say bulls on parade, like that Stu, man. Stu walk out, he looks like a model, honestly, ripped, juicing. Like arms are like veins rolling down his arms, you know what I mean? And he never snaps his, I'm trying to give you guys a vision here, never snaps his helmet. So his helmet rides kind of up like this, and no snaps on it. So he looks like, he always reminds me he used to hunt bull elk. That's what he reminds me of, right? Because he'd be looking at you through this part of his face mask, and you'd be thinking, I hope Stu don't look at me today. I don't want to go against Stu. That's what you're always thinking. Stewart, like 10 yards from me right there, right? And the coach comes up with me with the ball, and he says, Austin, yeah, he says, your only job is to catch the ball. You don't catch the ball, you're at the end of the line. Fair enough? I said, yeah, I guess so. He's like, okay. He walks over to Stu, and he's like, hey, Stuart, you ready to hit Bill? He's like, I'm ready, man. I'm way ready. He's like, I said, Stuart, are you ready to hit Bill? Like, we're going to hit him hard, aren't we? We're going to hit him hard! And Stuart's like, yeah, right? And I'm like, damn, you know? He's like, that's right, Stuart, they're gonna get it. Stuart's like, yeah. And he like pulls his helmet down and snaps his things. I'm like, right? And then this guy comes over to me, right? And this coach comes over to me and he says, catch the ball. You don't catch the ball into the line. I'm like, snap. Right? I'm like, look at this line. He goes back over. He's like, you ready, Stu? Yeah. He's like, you catch the ball. He's like, you ready, Stu? Yeah. And he takes this ball and he's like, you ready, Stuart? You ready? And Stuart, I swear, he's just like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. His veins are popping out of his neck. And I'm like, oh, shit. Right? I'm like this, right? And he's like, all right, 1, 2. And he throws the ball in the air. And I'm like this. And he's still screaming at Stuart. He's still like, you ready, Stu? And the ball's coming down. And he's like, go. And like, right when it touched my fingertips, Stuart hit me so hard, like I was completely vulnerable. My helmet like popped off and it bent my face mask completely sideways, you know? And I went back like 5-10 yards and rolled out. And I can remember like yesterday, Stuart picked up my helmet, right? And he walks by me and he says, welcome to the NCAA. And I grabbed my helmet and that coach said, into the line. I said, right? And I went to the end of the line. And I tell people, I was playing on a whole different field. Do you understand? It was a different ball game. In high school, you look cool. In college football, you're meat, right? And you're there to do a job. You don't hit quarterbacks out of the blue and almost cost them their scholarships. If you do stuff like that, you're going to pay a price. You know what I'm saying? And Stuart knew that. And I was an 18-year-old boy and he was a 23-year-old man. And he taught me a lesson that day. And I put my helmet on. And I see people come into Primerica and you're listening to people telling you it's a pyramid and that's a joke. Mark a pyramid. Guy's net worth will be more than Frank Sinatra's when he dies. What's your boss's net worth going to be? Dave Harms makes $300,000 to $400,000 a year, $600,000 when he's on. Has over $1 million to $2 million in the bank. He's never told me his direct account, but I know he's a cash millionaire. Absolutely, completely financially independent, debt free. So when he makes $38,000 to $60,000 in a month, he invests probably 70-80% of that and just lives off the other. That's what he's leaving to his children. What's your boss's net worth? Who are you cowering to? Who are you answering to? Who tells you to get up in the morning and leave at night? Who tells you when you can eat lunch? Is it Mark Marchesani or is this somebody else? Because when you came into Primerica, you went from high school to the NFL, right? And that's how I've always looked at it. My whole life in Primerica, I've never looked at it like it's a joke. I've never looked at it like it's something that one of those things, right? I'm like, do you know the people that you're competing with? And I'm pretty proud of this. Last month, through second generation, the only person that beat us in the state of Colorado is Rusty Crossland. Rusty Crossland was like at 211, and I think we were at like 140. Rusty Crossland is one of the original 7. He was trained by Art Williams. He has a home that he owns in Snowmass. I think he makes between $2 and $3 million a year. He's been in Primerica since the beginning. He was, when we say the original 7, when Art Williams went out to find his 85 guys, he was a direct to him, and he's the only guy that beat us last month, right? So when I look at Rusty Crossland, I'm not looking at anything but money, right? I'm not saying Mark is better than me and his little pinky finger, but I figure if I can be in front of Mark more times than not, then I get rich. That's not being a disgrace to Mark. It's saying that the guy that I'm chasing, his net worth is more than Frank Sinatra's. Who are you chasing? Who's telling you it's a pyramid? Your drunk uncle? Your auntie? Who? Right? Who is it? Oh, my manager at Walmart told me. It's awesome. What does he know about finance? Who does he hang out with? What would be the net worth? If we took all the net worth of his friends, what would it total up? Would it total up to 1 year of Dave's income? If we took all of his friends and added all their net worth together, would it be Dave 1 year? It wouldn't be probably 3 months of Dave's income. So when you come here, you're on a different field. You can pretend like you're not, right? You can go with the network marketing thing. I call them ostrich people. I can tell you all day what you're in, but you can stick your head in the sand, right, and not admit it's true. But it's true. We are the largest financial marketing force in North America. Nobody's bigger than us. Wahlberg Pincus put $240 million in us. Wahlberg Pincus is a private equity firm. They're the #1 investors in Starbucks, and they own Neiman Marcus. They're like a big shark that swims, and there's little baby fish on their stomach, and the baby fish wait for whoever whoever Wahlberg Pincus decides to buy, and then they buy, right? They hired a private investigating firm for 9 months. They spent $9 million on it to investigate Primerica for 9 months. The best investigating firm in the United States. And then they didn't tell anybody, and they dropped $240 million on Primerica on the opening bell. They bought the maximum amount of shares allowed by law. Wahlberg Pincus did. But my uncle said, who is your uncle? Who is your uncle? Right? Barron Capital, Ron Barron, said, and I can't quote him word for word, but he said the only investments that he makes are investments on companies that service untapped markets with long-term financial growth. Guess who else bought the maximum amount by law? Ron Barron, right? Because when they saw Primerica, they saw an on-top market force. 95% of Americans never talked to about their finances, right? And nobody's set up to handle it but Primerica. But Primerica has only taken the guy who they put the Harvard guy next to, and I say, let's get it on. That's the only guys they're taking. You know what I mean? That's why it's so hard in the beginning to get it started, because you're on an NFL football field. Do you understand that? If all you've been chasing as little kids, if I'm on Zach's team, and then they take me off of your team, and they put me against Peyton Manning, how do I look? Well, we were going to Florida winning national championships over here, but now I'm against Peyton Manning and I'm 10. How do I look? Ridiculous, right? Hey, you're working at Walmart, and then they took you out, and they put you up against a guy whose net worth is bigger than Frank Sinatra's. How are you going to look? At first? Silly. You got to get your muscles on. Got to learn some business. Got to learn how to talk to some people. Got to learn how to talk. Got to show up all the time. It is a self-improvement program with a high-income package tacked to the end. You see? People, they ask me all the time, why did it take you 15 years to make money here? Because I had to do 15 years of self-improvement, because Primerica doesn't pay me until I deserve it. But as soon as I deserved it, guess what they started doing? I wasn't worth $19,000 a month in Primerica. I wasn't worth $100,000 a year in Primerica for 9 years. And who made that decision? Me. I made that decision. I heard Shane Rootman say, you want to take responsibility for everything in your life. He says, so if you have cancer right now, you want to go home and tell yourself that it's your fault that you have cancer. And that if you die, it was 100% your fault. And everybody's like, ooh. And then he says, you know why you want to say that? Because if it wasn't your fault, then it's chaos, and you can't deal with chaos. You can't do anything with chaos. But as soon as you take responsible for an action, what can you do? Start fighting it and doing different. Right? So if you go home and you say, I'm responsible for the cancer I have, then you can go to Mexico and start eating right. And you can look into the best chemotherapies on the market. And you can start trying to run and exercise. Right? But if you wake up in the morning and you say, I never deserved this, and it just came upon me out of nowhere, then you are lost, because that means chaos rules your life, and nobody can capture chaos. Do you see? And in Primerica, you go out, yeah, you're going to look dumb against these guys at first, but you're going to get your muscles on, and you're going to go through this improvement package, and you're going to fix the things in your life that you have to fix before you make money. But when you make money, you make it the rest of your life without working, pretty much. When I say without working, I work every day. We're going to probably go get buffalo wings after this. You know, I won't get home till 12 or 1 in the morning, and that's usually when I get home, 12 or 1 in the morning, right? So yes, I do work, but when I say I don't work, I don't do anything I don't want to do. That's what I mean. If I'm having a bad day, do you know what I do? I go to the hot tub. I do. I sit in there all day. I'll sit there for 2 or 3 hours. And then I lift weights. And if I'm still not feeling it, I go to the sauna. Because I like the sauna. And then I go to the hot tub. And then I swim. And then I don't lift weights again. I usually go back to the sauna. And then I go take a nap. I get up. I go on appointments. If I'm having a really bad day, that's what I do. Because that's what I want to do. But 90% of the time, 95 to 99% of the time, I want to do Primerica. So 99% of the time, what am I doing? I'm out with wings with my best friends. I'm speaking from stage. Why wouldn't you come help Tom and Kim? Why would you do that? That would be dumb, right? I look forward to this. Since Jerry told me 3 weeks ago, I look forward to this. Like, I'm like, then you guys moved the date, and I was like, damn it, right? You reset it, woo, right? And now I'm back in, because I love talking to people, and I love training, and I love doing these things, you see? And so I don't consider it work. How does that work if you feel good about it? So try to look at Primerica the way it really is. If you're going to take a note, that's it. Try to see it for what it is. You're in the big leagues. You're in the NFL. You're learning things, right? It's going to be difficult at times. You're playing against guys that are unbelievable leaders. Unbelievable. Mark Marchesani, you hear that all the time, but it's true. Like, you won't find leadership like Mark anywhere. You won't find leadership like Dave taking me to that diner anywhere. It just doesn't exist. Do you see? So how can you think that you're just going to go out and beat these guys? You're not. You're going to have to build, right or wrong. Right. All right. Tell me if I lose you guys, let me know. But here's the, we're almost done. Okay? So you take it seriously. And then coachability and competition are the last two things I wanted to cover with you, okay? And so if you're going to be big, you first have to take it serious. You got to realize that we're the #1 company in the United States, I believe, and nobody's heard of our name. Is that an opportunity? Yeah. Do you want to buy Apple when Jobs is like smoking a joint and long hair and he's kind of on some hits of acid? Do you want to buy the Apple computer then, or do you want to buy it now? Then, right? Think it'll work? I don't know. You want 40% now? Yeah. Right? Then you walk to the next garage, right? And then there, what's his name with Microsoft?
Bill Gates.
Oh yeah, next garage, Bill Gates, dorky, no joints, probably very clean, right? Don't spill anything. I'm not sharing it. You want 40%? Yes. Just think if you walked in those two garages in one day, right? So. 4,100 RVPs. I bet there's probably not 4,100, but I bet there's 2,000 Allstate agents just in Colorado. We got 4,100 RVPs across the country. #1 company in the United States. Nobody's heard our name. We got 4,100 RVPs in the country. They're looking to distribute. They're giving you ownership. That's where you want to be, right in the front of that train. So then you got to be coachable, right? Coachability. Fair enough? So 2 stories for you on this, and they won't be as long. Brady Mann. Brady Mann made $31,000 a month when he was 28 years old with me. Okay? He was making $8 an hour when I brought him in. All right? So Brady's got like a couple stories on intensity. I told Brady, you got to be intense. You need to want this bad. It's the same stories I'm telling you I told Brady. We got this guy in the car, and he's brand new, right? And I'm brand new RVP. I got Brady, hired Brady 6 months into being an RVP, right? So we're driving down. Brady's a middle linebacker in Texas. That's what he was. I'm a defensive tackle from Western, and we're driving in this car. We picked this guy up. He's in the back seat. He's brand new, right? Well, me and Brady had been thrown out of job fairs so many times that Brady was going to be arrested this time if he was caught in it, right? But I still had one left. I could get caught one more time and not be arrested. So, because we didn't pay to go on the job fairs, we just went and collected cards. So Brady, I remember this like this yesterday. Brady's like, he's laying out the game plan. He's like driving. He's like, okay, so here's the deal, man. I think I was driving. He's like, here's the deal. I can't go in the job fair, Bill, because they're going to arrest me. But you can. So you go with Larry into the job fair. I'll hang out front and collect the people that come out front. I'm like, that's a great idea. Okay. And Larry says, hey, I don't want to go to jail. And Brady's like, you won't go to jail, Larry, because they don't even know who you are. So you're like way stealth. You got like 5 times to get thrown out. Don't worry about it. So anyway, he's like, so we're going to do this thing. You come out after 30 minutes. Maybe they won't catch you. We'll get another. Hey. Brady's like, what, Larry? I'm not going to do this. I just don't want to be arrested. I told you. You won't be arrested. That's a non-issue. Stop it. We're driving, and this guy says, I'm just not doing it. And Brady's like, stop the car! Stop it! He's like, gets out! 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 Out of the car! Right there! Come on! Go, Bill! I'm like, we're leaving Larry. I can't work with a guy like that. I don't know, we should leave Larry, man. He's like, I said the big guy. I said. I'm like, we're only like 3 blocks from the office, but Larry gets very small. And I'm like, I don't advise this, right? This is when I'm young in the business. But Brady was focused. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't work with you if you didn't want to do private. He didn't talk to you. He was $31,000 a month when he's like 26, 27 years old, right? But he no joke. You know what I mean? So then Brady on Coachability, this is another true story. Brady comes in, and I watched this show on Will Smith, and Will Smith says if you're ever going to have any success in life, you need to learn 2 things. You can look it up on YouTube. He says you need to learn how to read, because anybody can get like a Harvard education in the United States. They just choose not to. You could go to any local library and educate yourself to any level as long as you know how to read. He says the next thing you need to do is you need to run. He says, because if you run, the same voice that tells you to stop running in your head is the same voice that will tell you to not be wealthy. And he says, but if you can have that voice say, stop running, and you run 1 more mile, he says, then you'll make big money. And if you can do that over time, you'll be consistently wealthy for the rest of your life. And so I'm walking in convention, right, with Brady, and it's all crowded and stuff. You'll see it's like way crowded. And I'm like, so Brady, I saw this thing, blah, blah, blah. Brady stops and, whoa, wait. I'm like, yeah. He's like, so you're telling me if I run, I'll be wealthier? I'm like, well, Will Smith said that, actually. It sounded good to me. He's like, I don't care about Will Smith. What you're telling me is, if I run, that I'll be more successful. So I just went with, yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Go run. He says, okay. The next week, he got a GPS system, and he sent me, I go, ran 2 miles today. Right? Then I got another one a week later. Ran 3.5 miles today. One time it went on for 2 years. I got another one time that said I ran like 7.8 miles in 98% heat, 98 degree heat, with a humidity of something ungodly in Texas. He's like, it was a hot one. He's sitting, I almost texted him, Brady, I don't run. Right? But I'm not going to text him that. He's doing, like I say, if I followed half my advice, I'd be so wealthy, right? And so then he ran a half marathon, texted me it, right? The GPS maps of where he's running. And people say, I always want to be Brady. I'm like, if Brady was still in the business, honestly, he would compete or beat Whitney. He's one of the greatest, most coachable people. You could tell him anything that he'd do. If you told Brady to go to convention, where would he be? So when you say you want to make $31,000 a month, in the same voice, you should be saying, I'm signing up for convention tomorrow, right? Or, I'm going to blow all your part-timers out. I'm not trying to blow the part-timers out. I'm saying that if you don't do that, then $31,000 a month steps away from you about 2 years. Do you see? That's how you do it. This is how you play the game. This is what you do. That's called coachability. And then the last thing that I wanted, and Brady is highly coachable. He lived with us for 9 months in our basement. We grew up together in the business. He went back to Texas, hired Whitney. Rest is history. He's retired now. Okay? So that what we'll end on is just competition. Okay? And I believe that in Primerica, if you're going to have any success, you need to understand the business that you're in and the ability that you can do it, and that it's a real opportunity and it's not going to be here forever. You need to understand that you need to be coachable to your leadership and do whatever they need you to do because they just have financial interest in you. And the last thing you need to do is you need to compete, okay? And some of you haven't done that in your life, but you have to learn to compete. Do you understand? And all competition is a mind game, okay? So if I can give you anything to end the night is you start playing mind games with yourself. All the time. These guys are funny. The guys that work for me, like I made up a poem, right? I'm a poet. But I told these guys because they were constantly telling me I live in my own world, I live in my own world, you know? So I wrote this poem and I said, oftentimes I hear I live in a fantasy world, but in that world I'm the prince that wins the kingdom, and in the world that judges me a frog, that is a fantasy. Do you see? I believe that. So I do live in my own world. In my world, I make $60,000 a month. In my world, I buy Lamborghinis. In my world, I'm going to have a pizza shop in Costa Rica, and I'm going to sell high-dollar guitars off the walls and a big floppy hat, and me and Tom and Kim are going to party on the beach all night long. And then they're going to wake up and say, we should really get back. And since I'm a bad influence, I'm saying, nah. Let's do it one more time, right? Who owns this place anyway? I do. But you gave all the pizza away. That's because I make $60,000 a month and I didn't open it for pizza. I opened it to party. That's my life. That's my fantasy, right? So, compete, right? All competition is this. We call it in our base shop, we call it the rock. If you put a rock on the table, I want it more than you. I don't care what the rock is. I could care less. You can take the Expo pin here, right? And Dave Harms, who was #1 in the state of Colorado in recruiting? Was there some competition? This Dave Harms competition, what did he end up at?
A little bit more than us.
It was driving him crazy. I promise you, he checked my numbers every single night he did. Every single night. But I knew that. And my guys, 3 weeks into the thing, we're at what, 5, 6 recruits? I'm a third quarter team. We're at 10 recruits on the third. That's 4. That's not. I'm not stopping there. If you're looking at my numbers on the third week, you're looking at the wrong numbers because we're coming, right? And if you're going to go put something on the boards, you need to put it in the last quarter because I'm coming in the last quarter. And it's a rock to me. And I know how violently competitive Harms is, and I know how good he is, right? And I don't underestimate Harms. And I know he's got people like this underneath him, so I ain't cutting these guys no break. Go! I got 5, go, right? So you can take this and you can set it on a table, and I tell my people, I want that more than you. No, I want it more than you. No, you don't. Yeah, I do. No, you don't. Yeah, I do. No, you don't. I want it more than you. It's mine. But it's just a pin. It's not a pin to me. It's everything to me. It's everything. It represents my Primerica career, represents my family, represents my reputation in Colorado, represents me being Dave's #1 guy. I like that. And I'm not taking that away from Tom and Kim. They may take it from me someday, right? But as far as I'm concerned, I like being that, right? And that's important to me, so that pin becomes everything to me, right? And so I tell people, I had a lady, and once again, don't do this, this is bad coaching, but I'm trying to give you an idea, right? She can't get this, and I got her in my office, and her name was Karime, and I'm like, Karime, yeah, everything in your life is emotional. You put emotion into it or you take emotion out of it, right? So quit getting emotional over dumb stuff. You know what I mean? I don't understand. I'm like, okay, when I had my guitar one time, my brother, I had a 9mm, and the 9mm was really important to me. My father had given me the 9mm. He was a cop. But my brother's anti-gun, so he wouldn't come to my house because I own a gun. So for years we fought about this. I'm like, I'm so stubborn, stay away from the house then, dummy. And I'm keeping the gun. And so one day my brother comes to me and he says, okay, we used to hunt in the woods with guns. We were trained around guns. We understand guns. So if you have a gun, you know how to use it. How many times have you been out with your kids with a gun? I said, none. He says, so what do they know about guns? Nothing. He says, so what's the only thing that can happen with a gun in your house? The kids get hurt. He says, but if we bought a guitar and you learned how to play guitar and it was a $2,000 guitar and you took that guitar and you learned how to play music and you gave that to your kids, then you would be giving your children music. And then they'd be giving their kids music. My brother's no dummy, right? And he's like, so he says, if you sell the gun for whatever price, I'll double the money for a guitar and we'll go buy a badass guitar and we'll give it down. So then I was going on an appointment in Primerica and I ran out of gas. And what was in the trunk? The guitar. So I needed $200 to get to the thing, so I took the guitar out and I walked across the street and I sold it for $200. And I took the gas and I put it into my car and I went to the appointment, made the sale, and fed my family. Right? And I was telling Karime, so the guitar can mean everything to me. The guitar can be a lineage in my family. The guitar can be that my brother bought it. The guitar can be everything to me. Or the guitar can be a box with strings on it that needs to be sold that day so that I can get to my next appointment. And that's what I made it. That's what I made it. It's all meant to me. And one of the valuable things that Primerica taught me, and I learned through the Bible, I don't care what your thing is, but like I learned through the Bible. I don't go to church. I used to go to church a little bit, but I really read the Bible 2 or 3 times from cover to cover before I believed in it. I was an atheist till I was 30. And when I switched over, the one thing I got out of it is you don't cherish items. You don't put your faith into items, right? And Primerica taught me that. You don't put your faith in a guitar, you put your faith in God. You don't put your faith in a dog, Put your faith in God. You don't put your faith, right? And so I started getting rid of items when I needed to get rid of them, and they became things. And I told Karime this, right? And she's like, I still don't understand. And I said, okay. I said, give me your cell phone. She gives me her cell phone. And I threw it on the table. And I said, that's my cell phone now. And she's like, no, it's my cell phone. I said, it's not your cell phone anymore. And she says, it is. I said, it's not. I mean it. Don't touch it. Things got quiet in that office. And she says, but it's mine. And I said, and I just said it's not. It means everything to me. It means my family. You take that phone, it's going to get ugly. Leave it. And she's like looking at me, and I said, where can this be a phone? It's yours. Take it. Right? It can be everything, or it can be what? Nothing. And I said, that's what I'm saying. The phone can be everything, or it can be nothing. So when you compete in Primerica, you make it everything, right? Does that mean I don't like them? I love them. Best people that come into Primerica in the last 10 years in Dave Harms' base shop. I love partying with them. I love hanging out with them. I love that. I'm not after Tom and Kim Welton. I'm after what? Whatever they throw on the table, that's what I want. That's what you teach your kids. In football, I'm sure when you go to Florida, you're teaching them, it's our rock. What's a rock? It's a football. It's our rock, right? And that is how you compete. Fair enough? You get serious about it. You take it serious. It becomes your life. You don't say it's okay, we're at 10. Tom and Dave probably beat us anyway. You say, we ain't going to lose, man. We ain't going to lose. We're going to go get this thing. And then if they beat us, well, how does the battles we go through in life, we ask for the chance to spare, a chance to equal our stride, a chance to do our dare. If we should win, let it be by the code. If we should lose, we'll stand by the road and cheer as the winners go by. Day by day, we get better and better. We won't be beat. We can't be beat. That's Nebraska's fight song, kind of, and that is a great thing, you know. We compete, and if you get beat, you cheer. Whitney's the queen of that, man. Whitney, there is nothing that Whitney does that isn't important to her. There's nothing Whitney does that isn't the most important thing to her, right? But if you meet Whitney, is she not the sweetest thing you've ever met? Tiger, like bite your face off, right? But you meet her, hi, love you, blah, blah, blah. Here's the rock. Have to kill you though. Walks away, and then you know, right? I appreciate you guys coming down. I think you gave me 30 more minutes, but I appreciate you doing that. You know what I mean? And I really wanted to come down and hopefully, because I'm going to have Tom speak for us, and I wanted to give you something valuable.